And we're back with the After Dark, or as it says below me, After Dark section of
After Dark.
this is becoming actually one of the most popular segments for the captain's table, because when I've been posting on the new site, we're getting low numbers, but it's what happens. People don't always watch it after the fact, and a lot of people will insist on YouTube telling them when it's out, and so not everyone necessarily knows that it's out, and YouTube won't promote it until they can monetize it, and they can't monetize it until a certain point. It's complicated, but the last two of these have been super popular, like 1,000+ views on them, which is unusual for the thing that's been happening for a brand new channel, basically. So hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you all are enjoying this. We're probably going to be spicy as usual with this one, because I've already seen a couple of questions, and we actually had a conversation before the actual main show started. Where
about pineapples.
Well, about pineapples, but about this, about a bunch of things that have been asked. So if you missed the main show, there'll be a link above Zark's head. Click that link, go there, and check it out. We had a discussion about crafting in Star Citizen. What does it mean? Is it good? All that sort of thing. So with that being said, let's take the first question, because these are all questions from the chat, for both YouTube and Twitch. So the first question is from Ryoshima, who asks, since CIG is going to be focusing on bug fixes this year, if you could have only 3 new features that they showed at CitizenCon last year, besides engineering, what would they be?
We predicted it.
Yes. Oh, well, I'll add that on top of this, because there's another one from Walter Hawk, who says, with the delay of the content only working on content, or with delay on content only working on content, they are sure they can get into the game. Do you feel? Oh, okay. With the delay on content only working on content, they are sure they can get into the game. Do you feel we will have the Pioneer with crafting by the end of this game this year? And there's another question on here as well that was about the same thing, because this is kind of coming up a little bit.
People need to stop doing run-on sentence questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
What cadence do you think is best for the new game when it comes to adding new features and new content? There's a couple of these questions that are about this. They're all asking effectively the same thing, which is our opinion on CIG's focusing on bug fixes and content rather than features. So I'll answer the first question, but while we're answering that first question, feel free to add on to it. The first question is, what are the 3 features you would like to see that were that are not engineering? And I'll start with you, Zark.
So first feature would be fire.
Okay.
FPS radar, simply because it gets really tedious with the open spaces and trying to kill all the NPCs, and then they are hiding somewhere. So FPS radar, simply from a quality of life standpoint, and the new quantum system, quantum drive. Those are the 3 I'd like.
And what are your thoughts on the current system? Like this
on the current system. So first, I would like to answer Walter's question, because the Pioneer was never coming out this year. They are working on this year, but they need more than 12 months for a capital ship like the Pioneer. It's just too huge to bring it out within 12 months.
Okay.
In the state they showed it as, yes, it was white box only. Yeah.
Yeah. So now for the whole system,
the whole plan, like
the whole,
what is this plan? Your thoughts on this
change? The thing is, yes, we have always had those big feature-driven patches, and for old school citizens like myself, Paul, Dash, Andy, we don't bother with bugs. Yes, we get frustrated when our Ursa just explodes by randomly driving through the hangar. But I think I can say we are all kind of immune to this. We've experienced worse.
We're jaded, is what you mean, yeah.
On the other side, we would love to have a game where when I press the button for the elevator just appears. There's no second guessing, is the elevator there? There's no leap of faith needed through a black door.
Yeah.
And all those little things. So while we will probably still get 1 or 2 cool features this year, the cadence of trying one big bug fix patch every month is great, and I hope they can manage this, because if we had working ASOP, working ASOC, working elevators, working transit, no random inventory bugs that leave your items dropped on the floor and you cannot interact with them anymore. If those things disappear, the game will be much, much better to play. And I think people will play it a lot more, because the biggest issue right now is no longer server performance. Server performance is great. AI performance is great. Now we have issues like 20, you just wipe the outpost, 20 AIs are respawning at once and just murdering you because they came from all sides and you didn't notice. The issues are, you want to load in your Ursa rover into your Carrack and it just explodes. And you forgot to set your spawn point on the new space station because you just wanted to pick up your Carrack from the other space station where you parked it because you didn't want to claim it for an hour. Yeah. All those little things.
I'm looking at the comments about Flaro, by the way, one of the members of what is it? Flaro, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the Jump Point Collective? Yeah, the Jump Point Collective.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is an organization of fan music creators. Flaro.
That dude has made me cry in Gun Rush.
He's apparently really good at Gun Rush.
Yes.
So, he's also really good at dropping the sick beats. So check out Jump Point Collective. Let's move to you.
Especially check out the Pyro album that he and Wikipedia released.
We had
not very recently, but quite recently.
We talked about this last week with the New Soul, with Fist, who's part of New Soul. So it was good. He's the one who told us, "Oh yeah, Jump Point Collective." I was like, "What?" There's a collective of Star Citizen fan artists, music artists. That's amazing. Radar Rangers. So the basic question, the first question is what are the 3 features you'd like to see that are not engineering this year? The second question was, do you think we're going to see the Pioneer this year? And lastly, just more over what do you think this system, does this new system of focusing on bugs versus features, is this sustainable? Is this a good idea?
So I could go with the easy ones, like I want crafting and base building in there, but I'm gonna well, what I really want, aside from engineering, is the social tools and the player org tools that they showed off during CitizenCon. The revamp of chat, the ability to see org names in the game, and the party looking for group type stuff, party management tools that they showed off. I'm counting those as all one feature, and I would love to see that come in. I'm skeptical because it's a lot of UI work, and there's probably a lot of back-end work that they need to have in place to support it. So I don't know if this year is realistic for that, but I would love to see it, because I think that would be such a huge. The game really needs something to help that coalesce group play.
That would be a feature that would highlight the current move that CIG is going with, trying to more playability. Yeah. That would be key to playability. Yeah. I agree. So
yeah. Then I guess I would stick with the standard ones like base building and crafting for the 3. I was really jazzed when I saw them highlight that player org stuff, because that's what most MMOs have and what CIG is Star Citizen is lacking. As far as the Pioneer, I would echo Zark's comments. I wouldn't bet on it this year. I mean, it's a separate ship. My presumption, I think all of us are still presuming that the ship team is still separate from software engineering and game dev. So if they're still working on it, great. I wouldn't expect it to come out and be functional. but they will probably have lots of pretty pictures to show us this year, and maybe a walkthrough or something like that.
I also think this ship team will have to revisit a couple of ships in bug fixing them and so on.
Yeah,
that's possible.
There could
gold
be some
passes. There's so many ships that need gold standard pass.
Like
what was the last part that I missed though on your question?
Just in general, this focus on
bug
fixing older features.
I'm torn on it. We need to fix the bugs for sure because it's obviously like paramount at this stage because people aren't playing the game because of it. I'm one of them. But the content and the new features are kind of the pretty eye candy that get us really jazzed because it makes us feel like there's more progress there. I think it's going to be a tough year in the sense that we may not feel as though that we're getting as much tangible progress on a playable game. And I'm sure there are people who would challenge my statement there because you'll be able to play it without bugs, hopefully. If they really do need to tackle the bugs. Yeah, and if they can weed through the majority of them so we're not falling through planets, and again, to echo everything Zark said there, that'll make this a very different experience for everybody, and I think it's a direction they need to go in.
Okay. Darsh, same question to you. The 3 features, is the Pioneer coming out this year, and what is your overall think about this stuff?
Right. The first one that I'm hoping for is the transit refactor, just because so much of the first 15 minutes or half an hour or however long it takes, because it keeps bugging out of every citizen's place session, is reliant on the transit system to work in the elevators, the trams, everything. You want it to take you from your hab to your hangar or to the spaceport, and then from the spaceport to the hangar. I hope that is then in a good spot where we're no longer in fear of like Zark said, leap of faith for the elevators, or I'm going to bundle the instance hangars into this, just because it kind of feels like it's part of the same game flow, like getting from your spawn location into the air with your ship. So yeah, hopefully we get that sorted out. Second one, the mission system. Has anybody mentioned that yet?
No, I don't think so.
The refactor of the mission system. Hopefully Elliot will finally start being bullied by Jared, and when the new mission system is in place and working properly, so we can get more varied missions, branching missions, multi-step missions. That's the one thing that I've always wanted. Is like when you're doing something, when you're fulfilling your objective and you find a clue that can lead you on a path to another mission, or when you're done with, but not just like here's a stage of a mission and you complete it, and then you are gated to be able to accept another mission that is part of the chain. But I mean, like you create in the UI as well, they create a chain. It's like okay, you finish this, now come back to me, and we'll talk more about what you need to do, and stuff like that. So more like diegetic, chained, progressive progression through an objective. Third one, RT. I'm a sucker for eye candy. I really loved Ben Perry's this year's and last year's and the year before that presentation about global illumination and ray tracing. I like that. So yeah, those are going to be my three features.
Let's skip ray tracing and go straight to VR.
You can have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
You're muted, Paul.
The system we're moving forward with the whole fixes and over features.
Okay, so first off, the Pioneer, big ship, just like the what's the Dorito. the Polaris
Mhm.
that just came out. Yeah, that's
Even larger.
Yeah, 18 months at least it's going to take from the stage that they showed it off at CitizenCon. But they also, I want them to stick to their guns when they say they're not going to release a ship that just exists to be a ship and doesn't have any gameplay features connected to it, because the Pioneer is going to have crafting and resource extraction and ship crafting. So a lot of things need to fall into place before the ship can be put into the game, not just the ship team modeling it and animating it and then lighting it and everything. The third one, is the system sustainable? I feel like at the end of the year, they're gonna pivot back into a feature. It will be ping-ponging.
Mhm.
I'm hoping they actually come out with at least some like 1 or 2 features while they're doing this. They seem to allude to that during that long 2-hour, 3-hour podcast.
They said that they didn't say that they're not doing features. They just said features aren't the priority.
Heavily
So,
moving
for now,
towards content. And
so in a sense, for now, bug fixing has always been the second priority. Now it's features being the second priority.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they're good at their assigned task, we'll see a much more stable game, and then they'll be ping ponging back to more features only and less bug fixing, and then we'll end up in the same situation that we're now. Hopefully, maybe not, but I feel like that's what's going to happen. But I'm fine with that. I feel like Star Citizen is in dire need of a lot of polish, even though there's the whole caveat of, yes, it's an alpha, you have to expect the bugs, but there's some bugs that are just years and years and years old, and they're getting tired.
It may be called an alpha, but it's grown into a game that they're trying to actively solicit players for.
Mm-hmm.
And the bugs are unquestionably scaring new players away. And that's lethal.
Yep. Especially when you have people like Lyric say, I put up a video, I tried Star Citizen and it's still disappointing.
Yes.
I mean,
they get millions of views.
Yeah. One of the best moves I've seen from CIG was canceling the free flight.
I think that surprised a lot of people.
I was not expecting that. I feel like that is a clear indication of where their priorities are right now.
It shows that they know what the stakes are.
They're finally understanding PR is what it showed me, which is like they're finally understanding that you can do something like that, which goes a long way for your backers and for the people who are paying attention to you. And relatively speaking, it's cheap. Like it's a symbolic measure, So
it's actually cheaper than running a free fly, because they wouldn't need to spool up so many servers and pay for them.
To be honest, I'm sure it wasn't hard to do the math. They knew that if they introduced a lot of free people into that game in its current state, it would be suicide.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what you were trying to do with it. If you're trying to attract new people to get them involved in the game, all you're going to do is show all the new people how terrible it is and why they want to stay away from it.
It may also be that they've been seeing the numbers of free flights going down because people have been less and less inclined to play, and with Star Citizen getting more attention from less Kotakus and more content creators who have larger audiences and more mainstream media or mainstream media, like in terms of like not the I need a ramen this month, I need to pump something out, but people who have reputations for doing investigative journalism a little bit more in the gaming sphere, they probably wanted to those sorts of things. They probably factored into it, but did you have anything else to say, Darj, or were you kind of wrapped it up?
No, I'm good.
I am my answers to the 3 are pretty simple. Scanning, all the scanning, FPS scanning, and other kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's the one I was thinking of. But then people kept talking and I forgot.
Well, Zark said
Zark, I blame you.
Zark did say he's FPS scanning, but FPS scanning and ship scanning are all part of the same system. So like the new scanning system. And I saw some people saying that like this FPS scanning is gonna be broken in Star Citizen. And the one thing that I will say to that is you got to remember that FPS scanning works the same way as regular ship scanning. But if you ping, you're going to also light yourself up. It's submarine warfare. So yeah, you can get wall hacks, but the second you hit that ping, they can also see you through the walls. So it's not a wall hack as much as it is a wall sonar, I guess. It's going to definitely change how Star Citizen plays. Active sensors versus passive sensors.
Damn it, Jen. Tonic, I was being patient and waiting for Paul to finish, and you beat me to the joke.
Go for it.
Yet again.
The audio people haven't seen it. Go for it.
Yes. Vasily, one ping only, please.
The other thing would be, other than engineering, would be, because they're the other ones I was thinking about. I don't know if monster hunting counts as a feature, but that's something they've mentioned. What I really like is the stuff that, the org features. The org stuff needs to come in with like a new chat, new integration for organization stuff. Hopefully like new permissions for org. And I will say, feature. Refining. I think player refining needs to be put in, because it's like, it's going to be needed for building anyways. It's one of the steps of player crafting and base building. So, and that's one we already have in game. So just tackle it.
Funnily enough,
ship for it.
The expanse is also the only starting ship from missing. I mean, they have the salvage starter, the mining starter now, and the refining starter is the one missing currently.
Yeah. In terms of the Pioneer, I also saw somebody in chat saying that, well, in the monthly report, they said, what we're saying is, even if they're talking about it releasing later this year, CIG has a lot of ideas that we're releasing, but they've also said specifically that the Pioneer was not going to release when base building was released. It was going to be released after base building was out. And this was before they started doing the big shuffle over. I'm sure CIG is still planning on getting base building out this year, but based off of what they've been saying, I doubt we will see base building get out this year. And if base
the Pioneer is also primary ingredient for a station build.
Yes. So
and the question with base building is also about persistence. Yeah. So before we can have base building, we need to have some sort of persistence across all the shards.
And the planetary shields.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need the planetary shields.
So much everything connected.
You don't need the shields. You can just give these structures invulnerability. So that's
sure, but that's all only in Stanton. But like in Pyro and contestant
for
systems.
Tier 0 base building, base building, just make all the structures indestructible.
Yeah.
End of story. But the big issue is persistence. You join a shard, so where's your base? Can your base be there? What if two people on different shards build the base in the same place? Now they switch shard. How is this gonna work? So we need some more headway on persistence before we can actually work on.
Yeah, the point being, I think for all of us, is that CIG said it wasn't going to be it wasn't going to be there for base building. There's already questions about if base building is going to be out this year, and crafting and such. So the idea that the Pioneer is going to come out this year, I wouldn't bet money on it based off of all of those factors. It could be done, but being done and released are two different things. The whole C was done like 2 times before it was released. It was done.
I'm another year closer to death here.
Yeah. So with then the last question, which is about the whole thing. I've always said that I prefer break fast or move fast and break things as approach, because we're not done out of alpha. However, other people who have more experience than I in these sorts of systems have also said that they believe that this is the perfect time to harden the systems that exist, go back, deal with the tech debt they already have, and establish a good foundation moving forward, so they don't build continually on shaky foundations. And the thing about those foundation about this currently is that CIG has finally released the last major part of the game. Like server meshing is the last technical hurdle that they needed to cross to build the game that Chris Roberts outlined in 2012. And that is the key point. Now, is that a good thing or not? I don't know. And I know it's scary, but I also think that CIG's pivot towards narrative is going to do them a lot of get them a lot of attention, because CIG has had 4 writers trapped in a basement writing pretty much daily for 13 years. They have a very complicated, very interesting universe that they've crafted and honed and improved upon. They just haven't had it in the game. It's all been on websites and other kind of stuff. So if this is the year they take that and put it into the game, we can actually start to see the writing chops. And I also think that has a benefit to Squadron 42, because if players go, I am now invested in the story of Star Citizen, the story is being told in Star Citizen, and you go, oh, there's an entire single player game that you can play with full cinematic cutscenes and everything else like that with the same by the same team, people might be a lot more interested in going, let's go. So I think this is a good pivot, especially with the mission refactor stuff that they want to do, to kind of add missions and story, because it'll also improve the chances of Squad 42, and people will still be engaged. People always come back for new patches, not just for the features. The features aren't really, they're the eye-catching, but I think most people come back just to see if the game functions. So,
and I mean, if we talk about features, I did not really interact a lot with the cargo feature. I have to, in terms of if I want to be a loot goblin, I need to do it, but I didn't come back for the cargo feature.
Mhm.
On the other hand, now with Attack Pyro or Defend Pyro, or however you want to put it, Phase 1, I was invested. Phase 2, I'm also there. I've finally finished Phase 2, 1 and 2. If Phase 3 comes around, there's a reason for me to go in, play again. And those missions aren't something you just do on one evening or something. It's usually, it takes a while.
Mhm.
And then you have the issue like, my brother is doing Phase 1 now, so I can help him. He's doing Phase 2 next, so then I come in, help him again. With lore, we've done Phase 1 last weekend. This weekend we're going for Phase 1 and 2 for people who still need help. These missions are what actually drives player engagement. So I would bet that over the year, even though there's no eye-catchy feature, if they keep those narrative missions alive, each month a new stage, if they manage that, and those missions work, and we will see some more group play, and you won't be able to just game it like some of the earlier missions. I can see the player engagement, player concurrency be higher than last year, a lot higher than last year.
I agree, and I think that's the key, is that, and it's obviously calculated risk. Like that's the reason why they chose Chris moved it this way. There's obviously discussions inside, because this wasn't something they just came up with overnight. They're moving in this direction. I think I'm biased as hell with this, because I'm a guy who runs an entire lore YouTube channel that is mostly dedicated to Star Citizen. So CIG putting the lore in the game and actually getting people invested. I was before this, I was just looking at like the different mission descriptions, and in the mission descriptions specifically, they were talking about the various. I was looking at all the different, like the way that they were talking, the way that the language they used, and I came to the realization that there is a far bigger web that's likely being spun in this whole thing, based off of my knowledge of the expanded lore of Star Citizen, than people realize. And I was like, man, my video on this whole thing that I've been writing for a couple weeks now just got a lot longer, but a lot more interesting, about like, who are really behind the frontier fighters? Who's funding the Citizens for Prosperity? What are the headhunters, thing in all of this? And
it's very convenient how they got singled out as being the enemy.
Yeah.
The frontier fighters, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a practical standpoint, you're right, because having this long-term investment in the storyline in the game is what's going to help people get introduced to the Star Citizen universe.
Yeah.
And it's I don't want to say the low-hanging fruit, but it's kind of the lore team, like you said, has been locked in the basement. They've been writing this stuff. They might as well start implementing it in the game, because that's what's gonna. Those people who want to test the waters and be the solo player at first when they join Stardust System, they're gonna want to know what the universe is all about, and that's how they do it.
And then we have the whole topic about emotional investment. Like, they talked about it that at the end of the year, something will change depending on how we play the narrative. So I assume how many people do favor each faction, how well we do each missions, and so on and so forth. If at the end of the year something changes and we played a part in it, our actions had consequences, it's a whole different level of engagement. And that's something I would say, my faction won, or my faction lost, but now we have this part or something.
Yeah. I was there. I fought in this conflict, and I had the impact or whatever. And I think,
and then we'll be the people that go, "You weren't there, man."
Yeah, you weren't even there. Well, like I'll give you another example, which is, do people hop into Destiny every time there's a major update from Destiny just so they can get like new shiny, or do they hop into Destiny to play the new story campaigns and to do the new missions and the new raids? Most MMOs don't introduce new mechanics every update. They usually introduce new feature, new content, and that content is what drives the engagement. If CIG is moving towards this sort of MMO model, that MMO model in terms of like finalizing that sort of direction, content is what they're going to have to give. And so this is already
and I think,
like a big practice for that,
And I think we also have to remember that feature-wise, there's not a lot left for 1.0. Because salvage and mining, they need rework, they need bug fixing, they need next year, they need updates, so they fall in this content side of things. Crafting base building sure is a feature that's missing, which will come. Research and farming, the other two. And then full persistence. So we have 4 features left, pretty much.
but yeah.
There's one most important feature we forgot about.
What?
Which one?
Oh, do it.
Oh, it's not working.
Genesis.
Yeah.
I totally spoiled it. Sorry.
All
right.
Right, Genesis.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay. So, but I say from Genesis is not necessarily something we see as a feature
players.
for us.
Yeah.
So
Planet Tech V5 would be, that stuff looked beautiful.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. If the difference between getting Planet Tech V5 and working elevators, on the player side, it's not that much of a difference.
Well, remember the elevators are going to be priority now, so
Yeah, that's what he's trying to say though. Is that the elevators are more important than the Planet Tech V5? So.
Yes, absolutely.
So, just speaking player-facing features, it's pretty much only 4 or 5 things left. Now we have obviously Genesis, Starware, all the things that will make life better. But there's not a lot of features left to do. It's mostly content that they need to put in. All the star systems, all the new all the missions that need to be brought in. For this, we need the refactor of the mission system, which is on the content side, main campaign, and so on. So it's mostly content now that's left. Features are not all that many left to do.
Let's move on to the next questions, because that was a good one I wanted to tackle, because there's like 4
That was a long one.
Well, there are 4 different questions that were all tackled.
True,
So
yeah,
I wanted to try to get through all of that. Some short ones real quick. Jen and Atomic asks, Radar Ranger, what's your citizen number?
Ooh, hold on, look.
For those of you who don't know, if you go to your profile, it'll say.
Where do I find it? Oh,
So, it's at the very
80995. Citizen record number 80995. It's not very low, apparently.
No, that's pretty low. Let me see mine. Mine is 242500.
Oh, geez. I guess AMLO.
Yeah,
That's really
When did you back?
2013.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're all going through them. Hold on. I need to sign in,
I'm
and then it's
Oh,
gonna.
it's, yeah, September
384946.
September 3rd, 2013 is when I signed in.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah, I'm February 8, 2014, and 384946.
I like my
November
numbers. It's-
23rd, 2012.
because I've got my record is 242,500. It's nice. It's got 42 in it.
Oh, you bastard!
Yeah.
Right, hold on. I need to log in and then 2FA because I don't really log into my account from this computer.
Okay, you're taking too long.
I can look it up real
Yeah,
quick.
sure.
Is it Darionator?
It is Darionator. Yeah.
Yours
Uh,
is
238505.
Yeah. You're just below me.
September 1st, 2013.
Yeah, you enlisted you enlisted 2 days before I did.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Jaded Cynics got 41,230.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. That was a quick one. It was a fun one. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, "What ships do you believe need a gold pass most?" I'll start really quickly.
Constellation.
Yeah, I was gonna say two.
Sorry, I stole that from you.
There's two. There's Constellation and the Freelancer. Those are the two that need the biggest ones. The third one is the Aurora, but I've said for a while.
That's a bit like mid, like it's like in the middle of the gold pass right now.
I feel like the Aurora. You shouldn't do the Aurora until you want new players in, but clearly CIG is doing the hardening right now to get new players in. So this is the year the Aurora should get a gold pass. We should see the Aurora.
One thing I want to tack onto that is they need to expand the choices of your starter package from just Aurora and Mustang. They need to include the 100i and the cutter and maybe what's the
Intrepid.
the new the Intrepid, yeah, the fucking ugly one. Yeah, they need to include those in the main page where you pick in your starter, and they need to be the same price.
All right.
I say for gold standard, we probably the two ships that need it most are probably Connie and the Starfarer.
Okay, Starfarer. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Reclaimer only after they've reworked salvage. That's something they talked about that they want to tackle this year, and only
you,
after
you,
they've
you want
done
you want the hand back or the
personally.
So
just from a coolness factor, yes. Personally, I don't have any money in this game. It's just that I don't think the Reclaimer needs a rework until they've finalized what salvage should be like, and that's something they want to do this year. So it surely needs one, but it would be the third ship, not the first two.
It's functional, and it's not as bad as the Starfarer. But I'm of the camp. I'm sure that a lot of that I at least know a couple of people because I've been mentioning it a lot. Is that you need to take the Reclaimer and you need to throw it out, and you need to start from scratch because I think the claw is dead. Physical interaction is not going to happen because that's just way too much work for it to matter.
But Maelstrom has been shown to work.
But it's not Maelstrom is what I'm worried about. It's about the whole process of having two objects connect to each other and pick up a random object and then suck it into the. I think that whole process is a lot of labor, bespoke labor for very little outcome.
I have an idea how the claw can work. So we're still beam citizens. So you open the claw, a tractor beam pulls the ship in, attaches it to the claw. So the claw would function as a cargo grid of some sort where the ship attaches to, and then you can munch it down with the salvage beams. That would work.
I'm just thinking there's just too much bespoke work for it. That's the reason why I think they need to. They can still keep the Nostromo vibes because I think that's while a lot of people did buy it for the claw, I think a lot of people also got it because it's the Nostromo, So, but it's not built for the current salvage. It was built for an idea of what salvage might be, and when salvage becomes a thing that's finalized and they have the full loop, it'll become a lot better. It'd be a lot better to go back and recreate it. And it wasn't like the second biggest ship we had in the game. It was built like after the Starfarer. So,
it was the biggest.
Yeah.
I mean,
until the 890.
depending on how you view it, I mean, until the 890, it was definitely the biggest.
I think by volume, it's still the biggest. It's still bigger than the
bulk.
890.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Polaris is bigger than the 890.
No, so I didn't say I did correct myself when I said the biggest. I said I meant bigger than the 890. But yeah.
Is there anything else?
One of the things I wanna just say is hold back on the gold standard passes because that means I need to redo the kits.
I think most of them just
if there's too many changes. So one of the things I'll say, we in May of 2024, we had a booth at Beacon, which is the Belgian largest European Star Citizen convention, and we showed off several the Saber Raven kit in several stages. One was fully assembled and lit by our friend Steele. Then there was one just assembled, and then there was one in pieces. And it was during Beacon that CIG released the gold standard pass of the Saber Raven without telling us. So it was during that event that I actually got to look at new screenshots and videos of all the changes that I'm gonna have to make to the kit, and well, it only took a couple of weeks. But yes, even just even the changes are superficial. They will be changing a lot about the ships that you know and love. So I just want to put that out there.
Let's move on. All right, Stikru asks, my question is as well, how will they quantify resources? Like, I don't think you'll need one big SU box of iron just to craft a weapon scope.
Probably micro SEU or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we already have micro SU.
Yeah, we already have it.
Yeah.
I think that there will be different versions of crafting machines. So some that just have an internal storage, so you can put some SU boxes in, some 0.01 0.1 boxes, I think, are the normal ones we carry. Put them in. On ships or on larger bases, you just put them in the cargo grid, like the Pioneer. You have your cargo tray, you put those things on, and the resources get transferred. And then for a pistol, maybe it's 0.001 SCU of something.
All right.
And the bigger ones will require an established inventory network with cargo elevators, so they can just pipe into that.
Northern Trooper asks, to Andy, always wanted to ask this, is the My Radar app in CarPlay supposed to be a GIF or just a picture? Is there a plan to make it a looping gift?
All right, so this isn't Star Citizen related, so I'll make it quick. It's actually a good story. Apple has restrictions on CarPlay about having distracting animations, so that you're not really allowed to animate the radar. And for anybody who doesn't know, our app shows the weather radar and then it animates the radar on this map.
Right.
The thing is, I really wanted that animated radar. I wanted it. And so when we were testing it, I had it enabled in the car, and I was driving back in Florida here during a really nasty rainstorm one day, and the radar was set up to animate while we were in the test mode. And I found myself in this heavy downpour. I was watching the radar to see when I was going to be out of the rain, and I found myself staring at it to get to the last frame of the radar animation so I could see when I was going to get out of it, and I damn near rear-ended this guy in front of me. So it really could have been bad. So long story short, I totally see why they don't want distracting animations, and trust me, from hands-on experience, you probably don't want it either. Unless maybe you're stopped or something. Like I think we might be able to do it if we're in park mode, but I don't know. A lot of cars don't actually tell us whether or not they are. We get that on Android Auto, but then information on Android Auto, but not on CarPlay. So.
All right. thank you for that.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Northern,
I need a change of underwear after that.
Northern Trooper asks, the Fortune does not have a suit locker, and I believe the Vulture as well not having one. My question is CIG pivoting away from suit lockers for non-combat ships? Are they not bringing in heavy tier industrial suits? They are. It's in the, they did put a suit locker in the Intrepid. But they're intentionally not putting them in certain ships because they want the ships that have them to have that feature. So like there are,
And I think if we take a look at the seat in the Ultra or the Fortune or the Prospector for that part, those are not fighter seats. So they are rather spacious. So I can see that we will have different seats, and those seats will allow for different suits to wear. So I mean, they also
still shouldn't be allowed on any seat just because they're so bulky and just clip in everything.
They aren't really clear cut on what armor types can sit in what seats. For now, they only talked about that wearing something that's heavier than a flight suit gives penalties. I can see certain seats giving less penalties even if you wear heavier armor. The thing is, it's always kind of your choice. If you're using the Vulture, you aren't really supposed to leave the ship for that part, so you might only wear a light salvage armor. Same with the Fortune. It's not really your job to leave the ship, so why would you need a suit locker?
Also, what we need as an option is stools, no back support, and then you can wear anything you want.
There we go. Yeah. Well, you can also, there's the other option, which is you might be able to craft an armor stand and put it in your cargo bay and use it as use it that. That'll take up space. So like, you know, that gives it meaningful gameplay. Those are some things that I can see.
Or just hang it on the outside.
Yeah, stick it.
Yeah, but then you can get then you can get outside to change into it. Yeah. I mean, understood and helmet, sure.
So Northern Trooper then asks, is there anything within the lore where certain regions, i.e. Hurston, that would not allow a player to build a base there? Should a company-owned sites allow for players to set up their manufacturing site in their system? Yes. So each planet is its own jurisdiction. So you can think of Hurston as its own country. So each planet will have limitations. Like you can think of it, they've even mentioned this as sort of like national parks or forest reserves or something like that, where some areas will be controlled by the governing body and will restrict anyone from going there because they either.
I love the idea of a Hurston-controlled national park. It's just when you have only about 25% is garbage instead of, you know.
Well, it's Hurston controlled. It's
or
less
the mutated animals.
It's less about being a national park and more about it's our shit. Don't touch it. So, sort of perspective. And you still have to pay taxes to those places when you do. So there's definitely it's important to know that CIG is leaning towards each planet, I should say, planetary system is its own governing body, and they're going to have completely different rules depending on where you go. So what's allowed in some systems won't be allowed in others. Even if their two UEE systems may have completely different rules on building, usage of materials, or like Castra, you might not be able to walk into the Castra's gates wearing armor and guns, but in a place like Area 18,
Levski,
they may not care, or Levski, they definitely won't care.
I can also see certain systems. I'm like, what's the one that's so protective because there's developing species on there?
Hades. No, Hades was the other one.
Oso, yeah.
Oso, So I can see systems like that where you aren't allowed to build a base, but if you're sneaky enough, you might be able to pull it off because CIG is all about this. Try if you can.
Yeah, less forced features and more
Yes.
enforced rules.
So
going.
you could, not sure how it would work on a well developed system like Hurston because of all the surveillance. But in theory, I can see CIG giving us options, for example, with a hacked construction probe
Mm.
to build on Hurston without any permits, without paying taxes. But then Hurston Security shows up and
Yeah.
crashes your stuff.
There's definitely more things they could do.
Break some
in there.
kneecaps, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some like ways they could go with it, but there's nothing in the
I just
Lloyd's
realized.
system
Do you think like if the mob breaks your kneecaps, that's gonna be an echo for your next
Yes.
generation?
yet. It will be.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Stickaroo asks, question: will we be able to craft fuel? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have specifically said
You'll
that.
need
Specifically,
to
we
harvest the
will
base
refine it.
materials. Yeah, refine it. Yes, but you'll need to. One of the jobs of the Starfarer is to go into gas clouds and gather all the raw materials it needs for refining into fuel.
Yeah, and it'll be different quality. So that's going to definitely be used in the new crafting system. Like I expect the refining system just to be the crafting system. In a trench coat. It's going to end up being the same thing. But Northern Trooper asks, question: the Fortune does not have a suit lock. Okay, you already asked that question. I don't know when it goes through it again. Citizen Ninja asks, how small do you think or do you expect will be the smallest shelter we can craft? Maybe like the size of a tiny ground vehicle ASOP room at the Moon mining outpost, or smaller?
I want a tent.
I think initially
that's not a bad idea.
I think initially
Sleeping
we'll have
bags.
like a one-room building,
Yeah,
something like that, survival
think
shelter.
what
Or a
they showed off,
lean-to.
what they showed off in the probe, in the construction probe clip, is the smallest thing we can build.
Mhm.
But I guess we might see some sort of survival tent we can pitch up. That's just a small tent.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a handful of questions left. Like I said, the first question took us a long time, so I wanted to make sure we could answer it because I knew it was going to come up because it's a big discussion factor. Steve the Dancer asks, do you think CIG will have 1, 2, 4, and 8 SU containers of quantum fuel that is in storage but add to your ship's range?
So
I could see them making a device to let you take it out of the container, but just magically having it in your ship and having it be an extra gas tank, I think is probably pushing it.
Yeah. The star siphon, as they're going to call it.
Yeah.
So there is a nice lore post about a guy shipping a Starfarer from point A to point B, and the pilot has to manually refuel the ship at some point.
That's different because it's already a ship that has fuel tanks in it, but we're talking about actual cargo containers full of.
He is transporting the Starfarer from A to B, and because it has to be in pristine condition, he cannot use your normal fuel dock system, so he has to manually refuel it.
He's complaining about doing it. Yeah,
what would be interesting is if it was volatile and if you got attacked, it blew up, so you ran a risk there.
Yeah.
The question is, will CIG add some sort of fuel cap on the inside of large ships where you can go and bring your 10 liter canister
and throw them in there. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Carrack has 2 of those basically rooms where you can go. There's some components in there, and there's like a huge wall that says fuel tank.
The question is, even if you can do it manually, does it make sense? I mean, I have no idea how far the Carrack will jump with 10 liters of quantum fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 2 gallons or something for the Americans.
Yeah, I get it. It depends on a lot of different factors, and people point out there are fuel points, but most of those are exterior. What Zark is talking about is like being able to do the old what was the Amelia Earhart trick where you have like an access to the gas can from inside the fuselage of the ship that you could then pour into.
Yeah, I think it would be fair if you had to drag that big old 32 SCU thing outside with the siphon and do it while you're stopped floating around, because then you add risk, so it makes it so it's not that super convenient. And again, the volatility, so if somebody shoots you and you run the risk of blowing up. That keeps everybody by just installing an extra billion gallon tank in their ships.
Yeah, but if you drop out of quantum in the middle of nowhere, nobody's gonna be able to find you anyway. So you're safe in the middle of space.
That's what you think.
and I mean, using 8 SCU to refuel your ship, to refuel your Carrack, is a much more feasible than using a jerry can.
That's true. Good question, because we don't know how big it is. So,
but the 8 SCU of quantum fuel is just a big jerry can.
Yeah. Like, I'm assuming you would have some kind of tool that would connect or beam the fuel from your storage crate into the gas tank. But you still have to go through the process.
Where Jerry is in bold.
Yeah.
Bold 32-point font.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Next question comes from Steve the Dancer, who asks, "How's everyone today/night?" I'm doing okay.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thanks for the question. I'm doing quite all right. Yeah. It's been a tough week, but I came out of it invigorated.
Yes. Radar?
I wanted to try to come up with a funny line from Monty Python, but things are great.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Always look on the
bright side. Life is full of shit when you think of it.
Never harmonize over Discord.
No, it doesn't work. Zark, how you doing?
Yeah, so far so good. I'm currently working on finishing the most of my destroyer army, so bit of painting going on.
Nice. Yeah, I'm down to the last 9 models of my Black Orc Blood Bowl team. So because I've been getting back into Blood Bowl, so I've been putting off doing it because it's like there's just a lot left. All right. Next question comes from Steve the Dancer, who asks, what do you think will be the next game loop?
I saw this question come up, and I was wondering if he meant, like, what's the next one they're going to invent, or the next one that's going to be in the PTU?
Completed, I think, is the next one they're going to be completed.
Engineering.
I hope sandwiches.
Sandwiches. Yeah, I think engineering. Engineering is the closest one. Zark?
Yeah, I'd say also engineering. In theory, we could see crafting. Depending on how you see it, the revamped or refurbished mining/salvage. Repair is also more or less on the horizon. So there are a couple of candidates. Engineering surely the most pressing one. The question with engineering is always, how does it work with all the refractors going on and with all the things that happened, and how does it work with not every ship having the gold standard and so on and so forth. So yeah, there are a couple of candidates in my opinion.
I don't think engineering is a gameplay loop. No money made by engineering. Yeah, there is.
It's a game mechanic.
And it's still a loop because there's also repair. Like they already have a gameplay loop there, or like a mission they've been toying with. Like Elliot has been stewing on this mission for a long time, which is basically like, you know those games that are like Mech Engineer or Car Mechanic Simulator, or not Mech Engineer. But my summer car. Yeah, those sorts of games. But you know, like there's those shovelware games where it's like that, but it's like tanks.
Don't insult my summer car by comparing it to shovelware.
My summer car is not what I'm saying. I'm saying like there's like tank engineer, where it's like their job is to just give you a tank and you have to do certain little things. It's the same company that makes a bunch of those. Like they have,
the simulator ones.
Yeah. I think they have a full. Well, I know they have a full version of that 4-star Citizen, where you get a junked like Connie, and your job is to repair and fix up the Connie for money, and then they'll and then send it back down on a.
Oh shit! Star Flipper.
Yeah.
Instead of it, yeah, you get a junked ship, and then you have to repair it, or replace all the components.
Yeah, that's
repair the
idea.
hulls, and put a fresh coat of paint on it, and then sell it for more money. What was it? Flat Flipper or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Or-
I know House Flipper. There's a couple of those ones.
House Flipper. Yeah. But Star Flipper. Yeah.
This isn't a question I have on my list, but he just asked it because it's one of my pet peeves. Citizen Dance asked, CIG mentioned the silver bullet patch in ISC. Do y'all think there's an actual silver bullet that is
No.
be like a slight switch for the game to go on, or what? No.
First off, it's called the
So-
Jesus patch. Get it right.
No. So
It's life
will
by
be-
1,000 cuts.
there will be a silver bullet patch, and
called
what
1.0.
people often misunderstand is it is referring to having different ammunition types for ballistic weapons. So
There we
you
go.
could
They could call that
actually
the silver
see silver
patch.
bullet in the case that so it is not confirmed, but with all the talk about silver bullets, there might be actually silver bullets because, and this is just hinting at it, yeah, because CIG might be hinting at werewolves and lycanthropy as an illness your character can contract.
Because
Hold
If you
on.
are careful enough, you could
Hold on.
become a werewolf and transform on the night of full moon. But the
Zark,
problem
No.
is-
Zark,
But
Zark,
we're
Zark,
werewolves
Zark,
in
Zark.
space.
Zark,
They're-
what are you on, and can I have some?
Sure,
But you have to realize werewolves in
whole
space. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the the perfect time for it to happen. You just
Gosh,
have to move
Dash,
to a
that's what I'm saying.
specific point.
Because we are a space game, we aren't confined by the full moon anymore.
No,
But the big problem is if you transform, your spacesuit will no longer fit you. So you have the problem if you're
shit,
on
this
the
is
wrong
true.
moon, you might be transformed, but you might also suffocate.
What mushrooms did I just eat?
I do like.
but
all right,
it's not just
I'm pulling
werewolves.
this
It's
back.
vampires as well.
I'm pulling this back. I like what how Andy said it. Life by 1,000 cuts. I think that's a good way of putting it. There's no such thing as a silver bullet patch. There's no such thing as a Jesus patch. There's no patch you're going to wake up and suddenly it's playable. That's what CIG said. It's not in CIG. It's clear there's not going to be one. You're going to. You might wake up one day and go, Star Citizen is playable. But that is going to be unique to you, not to everybody else. There will be a patch that releases that is your silver bullet patch that fixes all the problems.
No, your personal Jesus.
Your own personal Jesus.
Oh,
patch.
challenge made. Someone needs to go make a video of
Yes.
that. We got AI now. We can do this clearly.
Your own personal.
I'm calling Weird Al. That's it. I'm getting him on the phone tomorrow. We got a task for you, Weird Al.
Oh God.
All right. Are we pulling Dan Monsters versus Aliens? No, we're not. Do not bring up Dan. I would be here for way too long talking about how awesome that series is. All right. Some genius asks.
I mean, if
No.
we are
No, Zark.
Moving
no.
on. The Subgenius asks, Star Citizen is Earth's future. We have NVGs, thermal optics, and systems at present. How has technology regressed this aspect of Star Citizen? Alpha.
They never said it's this Earth's future.
Yeah, that's true. But no, it's alpha. It's the reason why it's not in there. CIG's even said that like they want to add them in there, but it's a gameplay issue. Because the answer is I've played games where NVGs or our thermals were in, and they are hacks. They are wall hacks.
Yeah. Does Eve Online have night vision? Does Elite Dangerous have night vision?
Elite
does Elite does fine? Does No Man's Sky have night vision?
No. But
No.
Star Citizen is also considered. People still consider it realistic, which is I think is still a little optimistic since it's the game that has
night.
World War II
the way night
dogfighting
vision-
with bird aliens, but
the night vision will be like every feature in Star Citizen. It will be a beam, and that beam will be called light.
Yeah.
Night vision beam, just a spotlight.
Yeah.
We already have it.
If you want to say like how you could justify it, CIG in this universe they have sensors that work that can scan and find out people through fucking walls. So I don't think you need night vision goggles when you have personalized sonar beams, pings. So that maybe the thing as well.
Night vision is this archaic technology from 850 years ago that nobody uses anymore, and if you're lucky, you can find a semi-functional example in a museum somewhere.
Yeah,
It's just like if you take a look at what the Romans built and so on. So the old Roman cement, the original Damascus steel. We don't know how those things got done, how they made those things. So the Star Citizens, they look at old night vision goggles, have no idea how we built them, and they say, we don't need it. We have better things.
Yeah.
It's lost to the dark age of technology.
Exactly. There's ways you can justify it, and on top of that, it's also bird aliens in space. It's the real reason, the actual like in-game reason is because anybody who's played like Arma or any game where if you could have night vision or not have night vision, it's gonna like real life, it's a fucking advantage. So you don't want to have something that somebody has to have in order to play the game. Otherwise they just get absolutely killed, because that's like that leads into the whole a lot more other complicated things. But I still think they're going to have it in the game. They'll have versions of it. They just need to build it into the visors, and they'll probably make it a specific visor you have to purchase, kind of like how the combat has the HUD, the crosshair. It'll be like that.
The crosshair. You're right. Yeah.
So, yeah, and Jenny is right. We do actually now know how Roman concrete is made, because it was self-healing, and that was the cool one that we wanted to figure out. Which is, I think it was
just bigger granules of cement that when cracks form, they spread out and just filled in the cracks.
Yeah, it was one of the things they used instead of like limestone. It was like ash, volcanic ash or something.
Oh,
like that. It was a specific
and
type
seawater,
of thing.
I believe.
Yeah, it was a specific thing that when it broke, it actually expanded, and as it got older, it actually fixed all of the cracks, because as it was breaking out, it was expanding out. It was pretty cool.
Oh, good to know. So after years, we figured it out.
Yeah,
but that's
was
only
like last
very
year.
recent, like a year or two ago.
It was last year. It was like last July is when they announced it. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We are an educational channel here.
White ash
now
from
you
around
know.
Naples. White ash around Naples and seawater. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Gin and Tonic asks, what do you think is the fate of the roadmap, both progress tracker and release view, and when do you think we'll know when new features are released when? That's a good question, because I am very, very certain that it's dead. I think we're not going to see the progress tracker updated, and I think the release view is going to update right before they release it to Evocati. But that's me. I'll let you know.
That is probably true, because they're going to be spending most of the year. Well, okay, they're going to be spending most of the year on fixing the bugs, surely, and that's not really juicy stuff that you want to document in a progress tracker. However, if they are really still going to deliver features, if they're still going to deliver those features like they said they were, then okay. I just don't think it's going to be the giant centerpiece anymore, because it's not going to update as frequently. There's not going to be as much stuff on it, and we're probably just going to hear what's expected in the next patch in an ISC, or in patch notes for Evo, rather than through the progress tracker. I think you're right. It's not. I don't know if I would really call it dead, but it's certainly not going to be the go-to anymore. I can't imagine it's going to be updated that much.
Hopefully, once they pivot from this bug fixing and content cycle back to features, they'll look into a new sort of implementation of the roadmap, but that's maybe not be around for at least a year. So.
I think people would love to see progress on fixing bugs that have been plaguing the game for years. Would you rather see progress on those being fixed, or just seeing those get fixed?
Yeah, there's not really a lot of progress to track on that. It's typically bug
it's
fixed.
fixed or not.
Here's your patch.
Yeah, yeah, but they already do that. Every patch has a list
Yes.
of a bug tracker and then what bugs have been fixed. Just go to Spectrum and check the.
To be honest, if
posts.
they took the time to document their progress on fixing the bugs, they wouldn't be fixing the bugs. They'd be wasting too much time on documenting it.
And that was the death of bug smashers.
Yeah.
Lamented, but fondly remembered.
I think we could see the progress tracker surviving simply because it tracks the progress to 1.0. But yet the roadmap as it is gone. I mean, it's already kind of died last year, even though they sort of
when they were trying to figure out what to do with 4.0.
Yeah.
You know what? The roadmap, as far as like what's going to be in each patch, might not necessarily have to go away. If they continue to stick to minor version numbers for bug fixes, they can still say, okay, engineering is coming in 4.1, but 4.1 is not the next patch. For the next several months, we're going to get 4.0, 03, 04, and 05.
Let me rephrase it. The roadmap is no longer a roadmap; it's a patch overview.
Yeah.
It's not even laid out on a traditional roadmap where this, then this, then this. Then it's not a road to anything. It's just a list of features, which is not the same. So, I'm personally of the opinion that that's a good thing. I think if CIG shuts up more and speaks less and shows up more, they would be
put up and shut up.
Yeah, they would be in a better position, because I personally believe that last year was seen as a bad year only because of setting expectations. If you look at what was actually added into the game between 3.2, 3, 2.4, and 4.0, people would be ecstatic. The problem why people were mad was because 3.23 came late, was gutted in half, and then half of it became 3.24, and then 4.0 came late, was gutted in half, and now we have 4.1 or whatever engineering coming in later. And I think that set the sour expectations.
Software development is very hard. I'll be honest. I give CIG credit for being able to predict it as far out as they do, because it is not easy. There's always things that you run into that you didn't anticipate that drag things out. And if you make all these promises, especially to such a picky and large audience as Star Citizens are, you're going to disappoint them when you can't deliver. And it's not really their fault. It's not like somebody screwed up. It's just that software development is complicated, and especially on a project this big.
Which means that
I think if you take a look at the people who know what to expect from CIG, who already have set their expectations, how those things are. I mean, I'd say most people on Captain's Table. There weren't a lot of us who were disappointed with how the year went.
No.
We expected how it goes. On the other hand, if you take a look at Spectrum, at the places where the people not necessarily have much of an insight in what's going on, maybe people that are only with the project for 2-3 years, they have high expectations. They say, "Oh, that's all that's coming this patch. Whoa, awesome!"
Yeah,
and then reality hits.
And
I think there's a big divide between the, let's say, old guard that plays Star Citizen since 10 years, and the other people who are either new or more distant to the project. And it really because last year wasn't a bad year.
No, that's my point. And I think it was really just setting expectations. And if CIG sets expectations properly, which is they need to, in my opinion, now that they've kind of laid out what they want to do, is basically just not say anything. Like 4.1 comes when 4.1 comes, and when it comes, just No Man's Sky this thing. Have Chris Roberts tweet, a spanner, and then you drop 4.1 engineering update, and then just boom, then people just go, "Oh my god!" and just
exactly.
Out. That's
sometimes it's nice to be surprised.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to be surprised, especially when the surprise is something to be surprised about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I have a question. What's this guy's name?
This is Rusty.
Rusty.
This was number 2 in the age range. We got another one underneath this one.
Oh.
He's he's past his dinner time, so that's why he's coming to get
He's
me.
hungry.
Okay. He's hungry.
We're
okay.
almost done. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions.
4,
left.
5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Well, Escape asks, "What's the worst, most annoying bugs you've personally experienced this week?" Well, Raider, you've been saying you've been staying away from Star Citizen.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect answer. I've been staying away because they're all annoying. You know, when you get the time to get into the game and play, and you try to do something basic like calling your ship and loading cargo, and your ship doesn't come up or it explodes or the cargo elevator doesn't work, that's, you know, I am clearly not the only person who sees the defeat in that.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking a break, which is smart for anybody to do. Don't get pissed off and frustrated. Find something else to do and just wait a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I've recently been playing Mario 64. I installed a native client on Windows with everything updated, and it's amazing what you can do. When you unlock the frame rates, it just goes insane.
Yeah, 'cause
because
it's-
all the
it's
animations, all
links
the
to it.
physics is tied to the frame rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old game. But yeah, I actually haven't been playing that much, so I've been missing out on all the pyro stuff as well. So maybe I actually have to fix that.
For me, it's the ASOP terminal bug where you try to pull up a ship and it's there and it says and it just goes gathering it and then just goes loading, failed, and it's like because it's so random, it'll work on the same terminal. And then it'll stop working randomly, and then you wait like 5 minutes, or you go leave and you come back and then something works again. It's such a random bug, and it's so like, yep, I'm done.
I must say I don't have had a lot of bugs, despite actually playing quite a lot the last week or so, or the last 10 days.
Mhm.
The most common bug I have is elevators. Like, they're it depends. I feel like there are 2 or 3 different ones. One where one elevator is just stuck at a person's hangar and none of the elevators work. The most common one I find is one elevator does not work, but if you go to the one next door, it does for some reason.
Yeah.
The most frustrating has to be when I was trying to load my Ursa into my Carrack and it just exploded. Just like that.
The most infuriating bug I personally experienced recently was getting shard locked.
Ugh. Yeah. Which, CIG doesn't know what that means, but apparently they do now. Thankfully.
So in the end, after 2 weeks of not being able to play, to actually even load into the game, we discovered that the fix to that is to load in on a friend of yours. And then you'll be released from the old shard, because if you just try to log into the game normally, it will constantly try to load you into a shard that potentially just doesn't exist anymore. And then just nothing happens. So when you force into a new shard, then you can start playing again. So I think a lot of my excitement for playing the game died when I just couldn't log into the game at all.
But I believe the shard lock bug is fixed now.
Well,
They talked about it on
fixed.
STL.
Yeah, fixed. Yeah,
For now.
I think it says that in the patch notes. Possible fix.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's a new thing that they've been doing. Like for the past week only or so. It's just possible fix, which I guess makes sense, because they've been saying for a long time that bugs aren't errors.
The issues is this is
of errors.
This is a multiplayer game, and it's very hard to surface these bugs until you play them at scale and you test the infrastructure that's being used to deploy them. So you got to put it in a live environment until you really know for sure that you've got it.
All right, we got
if
3
you
questions
want
left.
to if you want to listen to all of this in a more concise way, just watch the latest SCL, where Benoit goes in a lot of detail, a lot more efficiently and more expertly than either all of us could combined.
Yeah. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, do you believe that the F7CR 1 or 2 will fit into, or how do you believe it will fit into exploration? Or do you expect CCC abilities separate from exploration?
What's the R?
The tracker.
The tracker.
Racing? Oh, the tracker.
So
Um,
I
Good,
don't
Jack.
think it's an exploration ship per se, simply because of the limited range it has as a Hornet. It is more designed to be command and control, so some sort of managing a squadron of fighters, maybe relaying orders, maybe relaying sensors. So I wouldn't. You could classify it as exploration, but I see it as a recon vessel. So like you did one quantum jump ahead of the fleet, or you're flying 200 kilometers ahead of the rest of your squadron and scan and send back data or something. Because for exploration, you do need some sort of endurance, and not just in terms of fuel, but also in terms of food, drink.
Independence, yeah.
And that's something you will struggle to fit into the tracker.
Yeah,
Uh,
any single seater sheep, yeah.
Yeah, I do think it'll
Sheep,
have
sheep, not ship, sheep,
Sheep.
specifically.
I think it does have some range. I think scanning is really going to be, and scanning is going to be universal. Maybe CIG will actually bear down on scanning and have the difference between, you know, scanning for ships, scanning for the anomalies, scanning for life forms, little life forms.
Life form. God damn it.
I was waiting for someone to do that.
Those sorts of things. So maybe there'll be different scanning versions for it or whatever. But like, I think the tracker has a place for that. But it's mostly a command and control ship. It's designed to help coordinate other ships together. So, what do you think, Radar?
I'm going to agree with all of that. I think it's going to be it should have a specific role focused on ships. What maybe if it's a tracker, it's got tracker right in the name. We need to be able to have a way to identify where ships have quantum to if you want to chase after them.
Long range.
So if there's or like in Elite Dangerous, they have some kind of a piece of equipment you can add to your ship that lets you follow someone through a jump tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a good use case for that ship.
But if you're doing it as a CNC ship, there needs to be a system of relaying all the information that it.
They did talk about that. They specifically mentioned
like the flagship of the fleet.
I don't remember where, and somebody here who's got access to the archives at their fingertips should look up and see where they did specifically reference that is obviously one of the intentions that they need, you know, for like the Terrapin and things like that.
Yep.
They'll be able to scan and then relay that data back to a fleet. Yeah, that'll be very cool when they finally get that in play.
I do like the idea that Scott made, and I think that's the simple answer is just if you have if you're in a party with an F7 and you're within range of it, it will expand your sensor range. So it'll just like as if it's like as if you're being fed all of the information. You just have a big bubble. Now the bubble exists over all of the party members, so you see everything that they see. You know,
in the Battle of Vega in Squadron 42, do we see
there
any
are some trackers
sort of
in there, yeah.
And trackers, or is it basically just whatever the Bengal sees, the Bengal reads?
You see everything.
Can display in it.
You see everything, the whole battle.
So it's hard to say what is relayed by what, but in the Hornet Squadron, there are, I think, 1 or 2 trackers.
They do show the trackers in there.
Okay.
I think they're Mark II trackers too.
All right. All the Hornets are Mark IIs, yeah.
Yeah. Carlos 72 asks, after the change or target to playability for this, when do you expect to see the first Eva Kadi or live versions of crafting and base building? I'll take the one question. I'll jump on that grenade.
Do it.
Last time I tackled the one question, I owed Paul a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, but you paid. I still have it too. So like when
it's gonna be 10 years old soon.
Yeah.
Jump on it, Paul.
So life is nothing without taking risks.
All right. So I'm going to put in my crystal ball and say the first version of base building and crafting will still be done by the end of this year.
I gotta second that. At least Evo. Somebody said Evo.
Yeah.
Evo. Yeah. Okay. Evo. Sure. Yeah.
It's not going to be the full crafting. It'll be a couple of shacks and a stick. I think a couple of shacks and a resource collector. I think I originally said it was going to be earlier, but with this new information of like how they're approaching things, where they have this Joker card system where anybody can pull it
Oh,
out
yeah,
and get,
yeah.
get worked on it. I think that's going to slow down that development, but I still think
Yeah.
it's still going to be on track for the end of this year. A new basic version, which people will play with and then forget exists because it's not really going to give you much. But yeah. What do you think, Sark?
I'd say a crafting I can see, especially paired with the first crafting ship.
Mhm.
Something medium sized maybe. Base building I'm not sure, simply because there's still it still seemed to me like there's a lot of things required for base building which might get delayed further due to all the jokers. So I can see it happening in Evocati. Crafting could actually get into the game with a specific crafting, with a bespoke crafting ship. But for base building, Evocati maybe, though I'd probably be more cautious and lean to Q1 2026.
Okay. Josh?
No, I'm not doing the one.
Not doing it?
But
Okay.
no, but I will say that when they do, I hope they don't do just the hover trolley. They do the one tier up above it. The Atlas
vehicle?
platform. Yeah, the
Mhm.
Atlas
I don't
platform
think
one.
they're not doing an Atlas.
that
I think they
is-
took that away.
But I
think they said they're
I want the mobile construction yard.
They
Damn
do
it.
no. Well, they do. So it's the CSV and the CSR or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No,
So
but
it's
yes,
not
yes,
Atlas, but
whatever it is. But I want the mobile construction yard so I can play whenever I expand it. I want to play the Red Alert
Construction complete.
March. Yeah, the music as well
Work
and everything.
complete.
It's just yeah.
I
That's
love
gonna.
it.
Yeah.
All right. The last question
I
is
have
from
dreams. I have dreams.
the last question is
Oh,
from
yeah.
Gin and Tonic, who asks, "Don't you think that if we could go out and mine or salvage or run bounty hunter missions or cargo missions or any other in-game loops reliably, it will make up for the lack of new stuff?"
no.
Yes.
You don't think so, right?
I'm gonna say no, because I've been at this for 10 years now, and I've had enough of a fill of playing the loops to experiment with them.
Mhm.
I
needs to be
still
a
don't have
reason for
anything
it.
to do with them.
Yeah.
There needs to be a reason for it. I
yeah,
had the
okay,
fun
yeah,
mining,
yeah.
but it's like I want to do something with it.
I think
But
that's
that's
where,
just me. That's me.
I think that's where the narrative comes in. I think if you did a narrative
Yeah.
loop and you said you get X thing for doing narrative loop, people go, I do narrative loop just because I want to complete it, you know?
I think we have to split the question a bit, because on the one side, I know what you mean, Andy, and I think if we say, okay, if it's just those loops but they work without bugs, is this enough? I agree with you under this assumption, saying no, we need the crafting, we need something to do, we need something to invest. If we take this under the umbrella of, is it enough to just make what we have bug-free and smoothly running without adding massive new features this year? Would this be enough? And they would say yes. If we get all those loops running perfectly for this year, that is enough to compensate for any lack of feature.
Just to qualify what I said, there's going to be plenty of people who would be happy with that, because they haven't really had their fill of playing these game loops because of the bugs. But I mean, like I said, I've been at it for so long. I've played them to my heart's content. Until they turn into something useful. There's definitely going to be a segment, significant segment of the population, the player base, that would be happy to be able to have a chance to play these game mechanics without the bugs.
Especially because we who are the old guard are in the minority.
Yeah.
CIG is well right to cater to new people, and new people need a stable game, even though it's not feature complete or game loop complete. They primarily need a stable game when they first log in.
Yeah.
I mean, we consider randomly dying and exploding a stable game.
Yeah.
Jaded as we are, so
Oh, let me just respawn. I'll be right back, guys.
Like I said before, we got jaded and we can see past those bugs. But someone who just logs in for the first time and can't get to their ship in the first
Yes.
hour of gameplay is just may
That-
not even want to pick it up again.
That is critical.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining us for this After Dark, aka After Dark.
Paul, I
section.
have to add one last thing
Go
now
ahead.
that we are done. I already talked about lycanthropy,
Oh God.
but then is already hinted, because if we take a closer look at the lore in the Hades system, talking about the Spectres, it is hinting at possession. And if we can control this possession, and if we
I've muted him. I'm gonna move forward.
Don't we get Benefica on your ass?
Thank you for joining us. If you did enjoy this, make sure you check out Zark. You can find Zark at my Discord, where he hangs out with us doing League expeditions. You can hang out. You can check out Radar Rangers application. My Radar, a great app, and of course follow him on Blue Sky to figure out more of the content that's coming out for Star Citizen and his YouTube. You can check out Darj at darjanator.com or jrdf.sc. And if you enjoyed this, you can check us out live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/theastropub and youtube.com/@thecaptainstable podcast. We'd love to have you join and add your own questions here live. And thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
And also wherever you get your pineapples.